I could have sworn this drawer was tidy at one point, but every time I come to it now to try and find something, I have a mild panic attack. So I think it's time that I built myself some drawer dividers. And I thought I'll take you guys on the journey. And whilst I'm at it, I'll show you my new 3-in-1 sheet metal working machine. So I picked this up in the sale recently from Warco in the UK, and it's a 3-in-1 shear, brake press and slit roll. It's got a 305mm capacity or 12 inches, and it weighs 46 kilos or 102 pounds. The handle on the side actuates all three mechanisms at once. So we have the shear on the bottom there, the press brake in the middle, and then the rollers at the top. It will cut and bend mild steel up to 1mm, which is approximately 20 gauge, I think. And it will do aluminium up to 1.2mm, which is 18 gauge. It's got this removable press thing, which is quite handy for keeping the metal held down whilst you're operating the shear. But it does kind of get in the way when you're bending, so I just take it off when I'm doing that. It's also got this bearing block thingy. It's the black thing that you can see to the bottom right of the screen with the 2 screws in it, which is supposed to help you square the stock up when you're using the shear, but it's too short to be useful really. It hasn't got enough bearing surface, so the stock just wobbles about and it's hard to get it square. So when I get a bit more time, I shall make a longer one. But for now, I'm just going to bear with it, and I'm going to square it up as best I can. Like I said earlier, I bought this from Warco in the UK, but I'm confident they don't make it themselves. I mean, a quick Google search reveals that scores of other suppliers offer pretty much an identical machine. Grizzly in the US is a good example. They must all be coming out of the same factory in China and just being rebranded for these different suppliers. As my first project on this machine, I'm going to make some aluminium pans and use those as drawer organisers. So I have marked up a pattern on the sheet material there, and I'm just cutting that to length. And I think we've got it reasonably square, so I think that should be good. Going to be making these pans out of aluminium sheet today, and it's 0.9mm thick, which I do believe is 20 gauge, but please do correct me if I'm wrong. And yeah, I've never done any sheet metal work whatsoever before. This is my first attempt, so feel free to hurl abuse at me in the comments or offer up any help or advice that you think I need. I'm just going for a really basic design on this first box, so literally just cutting the corners out. I'm going to fold the sides up. But one thing I do want is some safe edges. So I'm going to fold the edges up and fold them over so I don't cut myself every time I get something out of the box. So the first job is to bend those safe edges over, and this bender will actually bend past 90 degrees, which is kind of what we want here, I think, so that I can then whack down the sides with a hammer and fold them right over. And this is where we are so far. We've got 4 of those edges bent over for the safe edges, and I'm just going to whack those down with a rubber mallet. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. It's not providing the flattest of finishes, especially doing it on the floor. So I'll have to think about that, and maybe we can come up with a better idea for the second box. But in the meantime, let's get the sides of this box bent up. So that's the 2 ends of the box bent up, but now we run into a problem. If we try and bend one of the sides up, we're going to crash the part into the bender. So what we need to do is to remove some of those fingers to give us the space that we need in order to bend those sides up. So now that we've got those 2 end fingers removed, we've got enough clearance to get the remaining fingers inside the actual part, you see. So when we do the bend, the 2 ends of the box that have already been bent up clear the remaining fingers, and that allows us to close that side. Now I just need to work out how to remove it from the machine. I end up sticking it through the back there, and yeah, we can come in and finish that last side, which completes the box. And then to get the part out, we're going to have to take the rest of those fingers off. Do you call this a box or a pan? I'm not quite sure. Any which way, I think it's come out okay for my first attempt. It's going to be functional, looks fine. There are some gaps on the corners which are a bit unsightly, not too happy with those. That one's not too bad. This one, however, is quite bad. That's at least a couple of millimeters, so I could have done a better job there. I think on the next one I'm going to put some tabs on the corners and see how that works out. I've got another 4 of these to make, but I shan't go into detail there because they're all the same pretty much. One thing I did want to show is this backstop. Now this is quite handy if you've got a bunch of parts to make to the same length. You simply screw it in the back there, set it to the right length, and away you go. I'm not going to bore you with all 5 boxes because they're all going to be largely similar, but I will show you some of the things that I did differently on this second box. Now, I wanted to put some tabs on this to try and clean the corners up, and to get into some of those tight corners where the tabs are, I decided to come in with the hacksaw first and then follow up with the snips. Some of these tabs are a little bit bent out of shape. I don't think I'm using those snips correctly. Perhaps I'm cutting in the wrong direction or something. So I'm just going to flatten those out with the slit roll. Now we're back to where we were with the first box when I'd bent the safe edges up, and I'm coming in to bend one of the sides, and I'm going to do one of the sides first because I want to bend the tabs on the end pieces at the same time as the side. And you can see that tab on the end panel there, and I've bent that at the same time as the side obviously, and I've pushed it in a bit further because when I bend the end up, I want that to go inside of the side panel, and then we can bend the safe edge down and clamp that tab tight. And all we need to do now is to bend those safe edges down and to clamp those tabs on the corners. This is another prime example of my lack of experience with sheet metal work. I'm trying to flatten those corners down with the hammer. I gave that up as a bad job, tried a steel bar, that didn't work either, so I ended up going to the vise and squishing the sides flat with the vise, and that actually seemed to work a lot better. I'm sure there must be a special tool to do this, but for now the vise is doing an okay job. Now there's still a lot of room for improvement here, but I think it's better than my first attempt, so I went ahead and made a bunch more, and now it's time for a test drive. So that's the sheet metal workshop drawer organisers finished. I've had a bunch of fun learning how to use this machine, and I think I've got the sheet metal bug. So if you'd like to see me make a complete hash of any other sheet metal projects, please do let me know in the comments. As always, if you want to do me a favour, drop me a like and a subscribe. It's very much appreciated. Thanks for watching, folks.